All right. Yes, I'll be
Baba
Dr.
TJ.
Day. It's my pleasure to introduce Cathy Riley, who's going to show us her recent slideshow of from her September trip to Meherabad. So it's all of us who have been there, not been there way too long. We'll see the updates. Yeah, I've seen it, and it's a wonderful show. So, Cathy, please.
Yes. Jay Baba, thank you for inviting me back to share my stories of my recent trip to India, September of this, just a few months ago. I was there, and I'd love to show a little slideshow I assembled, and I hope you enjoy it. So I'm going to do a sharing of a screen to bring,
You need,
let's see.
yeah, she needs to be, oops, and I need to make you a co-host. Here we go.
Okay,
Ah, there we go.
great, thank you. Whoopsie doodle. Okay, let me see if I can get this going here. Share screen. Aha, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to share that wonderful. Ah, isn't this
Okay.
marvelous? Marvelous. As Kitty would say, simply marvelous. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to start with my first slide. Okay, so I had a lot of help when I was writing my Dilruba Days chapter on Kitty's early life and corresponded by email with the archivist at St. Paul's Girls' School where Kitty went to high school.
Uh-huh.
I guess, do they call it, I don't know, do they call it secondary school? Whatever they call it. Kitty was going to school at St. Paul's between 13 and 18. And Howard Bayless had been so helpful with fact checking for that chapter in Kitty's life because she went to school there, and the archives all mention her name and her dates and her grades and everything you wanted to know about that. So uh, I had finished my Dilruba Days book, sent him a copy, and Howard wrote me back. And I have to say, I love to repeat this in with a British accent because it so sounded so British even in his email. He said, "Although I am a Christian, the overarching message I found quite compelling."
Thank you.
So he was very touched by Dilruba Days, even though he was a Christian. He is still a Christian. Okay, so I wrote to Howard knowing I was going to go to India via London because the London Baba group asked me to give a talk and bring some books of Tom's, his more light book. So I planned to meet with Howard Bayless, and here he is in front of St. Paul's. Uh, it was a wonderful tour, and then he gave me lunch. And the next picture shows as I was at lunchtime there, my teacup must have adhered to one of these little coasters, St. Paul's Girls' School Merry Christmas coasters from 2020. When I arrived in India, it fell out of my one of my bags, and so I just thought, well, I'll put it out for Christmas. And then I decided I was going to send this on to Shireen Irani Bonner, who is, you know, Baba's niece, because Baba wanted her to go to St. Paul's, and there's a very long, wonderful story of how she also went to St. Paul's Girls' School. So I sent it to her for Christmas. One of the most interesting parts of my visit to St. Paul's was that Gustav Holst taught there and taught Kitty, and Howard Bayless took me to the room where he taught music and he composed his beautiful musical pieces. And so that this meant a lot to me because Kitty talked about how even though they never spoke of Eastern mysticism, that he was very interested in Eastern mysticism. And she felt maybe even by osmosis that this, you know, might have in some way infiltrated into her consciousness and influenced her life. So that was meaningful to see Miss Gustav Holst's classroom. this is a picture of the auditorium where Kitty would have gone to assemblies, looking toward the stage and the beautiful organ, and then looking from the stage toward the back. You see how beautiful this
Yeah.
building is. It's just gorgeous and very elaborately beautiful. And just imagining 12-year-old, 13-year-old Kitty sitting there just made me very happy. So who else had planned to come to England at the same time but Janet and Bill Files? And we had planned ahead to stay in the same guest house near the Baba London Center. So they were able to come to my talk, my Tom Riley More Light talk at the London Baba Center. And that was a lot of fun. Then we gadded about. And one of the places we gadded to was Kew Gardens, where Baba had been with Delia and others. At Kew Gardens, botanical gardens in London, they had um, a light show set up by a woman who was celebrating floral designs in the Islamic tradition. And so she illuminated these in a room that you would go into, and you see Janet Files in the middle of this Islamic illumination looking very dapper. And there we are looking very happy together in this beautiful exhibition of floral design via luminosity. There was a conservatory that we also went to visit. And, but 9.5 hours later by plane. Well, then, of course, going from there, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours to Pune, I had the good fortune to stay for a few days with Dolly Carawala. Many of you might have remembered Sam and Roshan, her parents, and Dolly and her older sister Mara were teenagers when I first met them in 73, the first time my friend Annie Bell and I went to India. Somehow Baba connected us to Sam and Roshan, and Dolly and Mara, who, as I say, were teenagers, and it was just wonderful to maintain that friendship. And there's Dolly at her Pune home, welcoming me in back to their house. This is their little puja corner, and I just love the tradition of all the photos and the beautiful paintings with flowers, fresh flowers every day, which is so much a part of the Indian tradition. Dolly also had some beloved cats, and because she had these are 3 of the 7 cats who live in her house, and you can also see the Will David paintings on the wall there behind the black and white cat. Here's another cat going for his morning breakfast, and more of the beautiful photos of Baba that are, I didn't ask, but I assumed these might have been given to them by Baba. And the fresh garlands are such a touching, part of the Indian tradition. You can see Baba's forehead's been touched many times. I'm sure his feet have been touched many times in this photo with the lovely, lovely marigolds. Nearby Sam and Roshan's place was Dottie. Dottie was her father's brother, right? So her uncle Dottie. Dottie and Sam, all part of Erich's family.
Yeah.
Dolly also, when she became a lawyer, shared his apartment. And this is a beautiful picture of Marwan and Dottie that just speaks buckets about their inner and outer beauty.
I noticed they used the word Ms. in front of Dolly's name, Kathy.
Yeah.
They use
They're
what?
Ms.
Ms. Okay. Yes.
They're up to date.
Yeah. Well, India's in some ways feels more up to date than we are. I don't know. They're so techno savvy over there. But yes, she's Ms. Carawala. There's Ms. Carawala picking up a guitar that was in the flat of Dottie's that she shared, because I had promised to sing for Dolly and for her very close friends that she helps cheer up. I'll tell you about them in a minute.
Yeah.
On the wall of the Salmon Roshan's house is this beautiful, I think it's, I don't know if it was originally a photo, but it's so evocative of Erich and Merwan walking down the approach road in Meherabad, and it carries such a powerful feeling. And I just had to take a photo of that beautiful painting. So Dolly, with her 7 cats, knew that I needed another place to stay. So I stayed with Zareen, her friend who was the headmistress of a very prestigious Parsi school in Pune. Dolly had been hired to be the accountant, and Zareen, the woman here in pink, was the woman who hired her. They became close friends, and through Dolly, Zareen became drawn to Baba and became a Baba devotee. And even the head, Dolly told me very, she's so shy about it, not shy, but just unassuming, that the head Dastur, the head priest, Zoroastrian priest of the whole area, who was, maybe he was the head Zoroastrian priest of this school, eventually became interested, and he actually went to Ahmednagar through Dolly's just friendship, and she said he became a Baba devotee also. So it's incredible, really, the quiet work that went on through Dolly's being there at this school. And uh, an interesting fact that bubbled up through conversation with Zareen was that her late husband was actually the grandfather of the man who was the president of Maharashtra and Gujarat, who was like had a big role that the Brits had given him to be the ruler of these states. And he was named Mr. Cooper. And it turns out he lived in Satara. And in talking to her, I said, Satara was where Baba lived from 54 to 56 up until the accident time. And she said, oh, yes, my, my husband's grandfather was the one who owned uh, Grafton and Rosewood and Jal Villa and this whole big estate in Satara. And I said, you're kidding. I couldn't believe it. Her, late husband's grandfather. And she said, yes, Dinshaw was his name. He used to, as a teen, go to Satara to visit his grandfather and grandmother. And he would see Baba walking around, the grounds outside of Grafton and Rosewood. And he was much more interested in the menagerie of animals. He loved uh, Sheba and all the other animals that were housed there. He would see Baba walking around, and he was, as a teen, just drawn to the zoo rather than Baba. But that was so interesting. So I started thinking, how did Baba get to Satara? And she had a set of Lord Mayhair. So I found here that Ramju and his family moved to Satara, and then Baba asked him to find 2 bungalows which were rented through Ramju for Baba. And on June 2nd, 54, Baba and the Mondley moved to Satara. So that was a very interesting historical moment for me to find out her husband's connection with Baba and Satara. So that was fascinating. Okay, every morning, the uh, beautiful servant who came every day, she came with a garland, and this was one of her first duties was to get out the stepladder and to garland Baba's photo. So I'm sure she came with, she first went to the flower market and got the garland. And here she is, and they're so beautiful. I mean, here, look at that fabulous, beautiful sari and beautiful face. And 2 women worked there for the woman Zareen, whose house it was. Next, I wanted to show you about. I went with Dolly to our favorite South Indian restaurant, and
Oh,
our favorite food there at Ram Krishna in Pune is called a paper dosa. So you break this huge dosa in half or this rice pancake, and then you have all these nice chutneys that you, oh my golly, what
Yeah.
yum, just my mouth is watering looking at those chutneys, and you sort of dip the little crunchy dosa. Here we go. It's being dipped, and you see how that's my half, and then she has a half, and then you see all those nice chutneys that you sort of dip it into, and you feel very happy that you're alive. Eating crunchy paper doses. Okay, so now at Zareen's house in Pune was a parrot, and every morning the parrot would go berserk because he was about to have his what do you call this little apple? I guess it was, or was it a? Can't quite tell. What it is, but that beautiful woman is, I mean, just that's her everyday gear. Can you believe that? And she's feeding the parrot, and he's looking very, very happy. So that is now on another day, a woman arrived who lived in the apartment complex, and she is Russian. She had a special relationship with the parrot. So I want to show you what happened. I asked, or I think Dolly said, you've got to see what happens when she starts talking in Russian to the parrot. So here she is, and the parrot is the. So I took this kind of longer video because because the parrot starts going berserk. You'll see it in a minute, and I thought it's so cute. See, the parrot's really must know Russian or something. So, so I took a longer video because I have a cousin who speaks Russian, and I wanted to find out what she was saying. So I showed this to. But now I'm panning over to Dolly and Zareen, who are just getting blown away with with the beauty of this relationship. Okay. Okay. So on we go to Ahmednagar, and the beauty of the MPR, the retreat, is so touching, every little aspect, and just even this gate with the lovely hearts, it's just very,
Yeah.
the whole thing under Ted's management, Ted Judson's management, so artistically thought up and executed. Um, I hadn't been back in 16 years, and when I first went, the MPR had just opened, and these trees were very small. They weren't this size, and nothing was really blooming yet. So this was very touching to me to see the beauty of the gardens 16 years later. And many of you who have been to the MPR remember these gorgeous wrought iron artworks that were put in some of the archways. The beautiful women with their pots of water on their heads. I just did a little video from the second floor to show some of my friends who, mostly family members who hadn't been there, to show them what the MPR looked like. And so this is sort of a little videos of going along the second floor and showing how beautiful gorgeous it is there. This goes on for quite a while, and I'm just going to fast forward to the next slide so that people can see. Yes. Ha ha. So every morning and every evening, most mornings and some evenings, I would walk from the NPR to the Samadhi for arti and singing. And this is the way it's looking now, which was so heartening to me to see the forest, which when I had been there 16 years ago was hardly, you know, hardly, just barely starting, young, smaller trees. And now with the drip irrigation, they've really managed to create this gorgeous forest, which I'm sure is bringing back more and more wildlife to the area. Actually, one night coming home from RT, I saw, of all things, this big rodent scurrying across the dark path, and it turns out it was a porcupine. I've never seen a porcupine in my life, but there he was scurrying around. Um, One of the new, I don't know what you call it, the new pluses and cons of life is that everybody has a cell phone. But the cell phones sometimes go off while you're at RT, and just so that they have a sign now, be quiet, around the Samadhi, silence phones here. Most people do remember to silence their phones, but every once in a while in the middle of the prayers, you'll hear some big, phone ringing and somebody rushing to try to find where their phone is. There are so many more Indians coming now, as many of you have heard. I mean, the lines waiting at early in the morning and in the evening would snake around. You'd have to wait 10, 15 minutes to get into the Samadhi. And that is a totally you know, a new aspect of life in India. And the Baba's just bringing thousands of Indians to his tomb shrine. Uh, One of the joys for me of being there this time was being able to sing with Ted at the Samadhi. He was equally as happy because, for the most part, there haven't been a lot of Westerners coming and not that many singers. And he would be sitting there, hearing all the Indian songs, which some of them he knows, but not all of them. And so we had so much fun singing every morning. I would get one song and he'd get one song, and usually we would sing together. He's having trouble with his fingers. Um, I don't know if it's arthritis or whatever, but so since we know all the same songs, I would usually play the guitar and then we would sing together. Uh, you may have met this nice couple from Germany, Ursula and Dieter Lange. So they come quite often to India from Germany, and I had met them before, so it was wonderful to see them again. A high point for me was to sing for Mara on the porch. This is what, of course, it looks like now. We all who have been there remember Mara on the porch being so attentive and loving and telling us about Baba and hearing our stories and listening to our songs. So I sang for Mara on the porch. That was a very meaningful, very meaningful time for me. In Meherabad, there is this beautiful Philisot painting of Mara, and it just conveys such a feeling of her sacred presence to me. I had to take a picture of this beautiful painting. Um, in the on the porch, I would sing. We are allowed to be there 3 times a week. Tuesday, is it Tuesday, Saturday, and no, Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. That's right. So singing for her, and Peter, you knew, Ira, you know that Peter was there at the same time I was there. And Dell and Elliot Rubin were there. That's Dell on the porch. So very, very meaningful. I would say Meherabad is really quite different. Of course, the Mandali are not there. And there's a bunch of small group of uh, Westerners and many, many Easterners coming and asking about what it was like, being there with the close ones, and we were so lucky to share stories with them. Arnavas's tomb is there in Meherabad, and I had the good fortune to have spent some time there with her in her later years. So this was extremely meaningful to see her tomb shrine in sort of outside of where she used to stay on that little side porch where Monty also used to write and type, and it's hard to describe. But yeah, this little area around the corner from the main part of the gardens. I'd had this picture taken because the artwork behind me was done by Terry Adams, and knowing Terry and loving Terry, I was just so happy that it was still there. I had seen it 16 years before, but I knew it would mean a lot to her to see that her artwork was in Meherabad still. And then, of course, where Mani would sit and Arnavas later would sit, there's beautiful pictures, photos of Peter and Sheba. And the so this is one of the RTs, and this is the new road that's going right beyond. You can see that, you know, the 4-lane road is right outside of where the Dooney is held. So that's quite a new development in the last number of years. But it wasn't too, that was Jal Dastur, who's now in a wheelchair. It's not too obtrusive. I mean, you can hear the cars, but so many people come to the Dooney that you just block out the sound of all those trucks and cars and scooters. So that's what the Dooney looks like. Oh yes, oh yes. So I am crazy about buffaloes, and in India they have these wonderful water buffalo. So I had to take a picture of these lovely, there's a buffalo baby coming to join mom, and I guess, are they both all moms out there? Yeah, I guess they're, because they're milked. And then there's a good old milk cow as well, looking ready to be milked too. But those beautiful shiny black water buffalo are such a fabulous sight. And somebody told me that Adi K, Baba's secretary, Adi Irani, loved buffalo also. And I'm sure many of you have felt that too when you see these beautiful buffaloes. Okay, so then a few days after that scene, I think, let's see, did Peter come? Peter might have been there. A few of us went to tea at a friend's house who lives in down the hill in Meher Colony. And here is a very cute picture of 2 baby buffalo having lunch. So aren't they cute? Oh, and there's quite a few Baba people live there in that Meher Colony area. So, and back to the cute little buffaloes having lunch in the rain. So that was a thrill, especially because they were eating in sync with each other. Up on the top of Meherabad Hill, many of you who have been there remember the Gadi. Now, because so many more people are coming, it's surrounded by a metal enclosure so that people won't sit on the Gadi or touch it too much. And as you can also remember, those of you who have been there, they often put beautiful Rangoli chalk designs around the shrines and the special places. So I love those beautiful red and green chalk designs below the Gadi. I took a photo of Tom and I put it on the Gadi temporarily in front of Baba's feet to bring Tom to India with me. That was a touching moment. And then, many of you have been with Mansari, and this is a early morning photo looking toward her kitchen where many of us spent beloved hours having tea with Mansari. I also took a little video from Mansari's kitchen door, looking toward the Samadhi in the distance, and then I panned around toward the museum, which you will see there. The museum was wonderful. The tower, and then the Gaudis in the corner, and panning around to Mansari's kitchen door, where hadn't realized that Baba actually slept in that room for quite a while, and Mara had lived. They lived on the hill when the women were in the East Room, so that was interesting to find that out. So many of you might have heard that this fellow, I don't know if the fellow in the blue here, Jimmy Kahn, over the years has put ads into the Parsi newspaper in Bombay saying bus trips to Meher Baba's tomb shrine in Ahmednagar, Maharashtra state, and these busloads of, some are dyed in the wool Baba people, some are totally new, and they when I was there, they had a busload of a 3-day trip and a 5-day trip. So the woman that's next to me was one of the women who roomed across from my little room there at the retreat center. And when they were taking a picture of the whole Bombay group that was about to leave, she insisted that I come join them. So I'm the only Westerner in the midst of all these, probably mostly Parsis from Bombay. And I have no idea who were, longtime Baba lovers and who were newbies. But, they added a real nice flavor to the time there. Okay, so those of you who have come to India in September might remember that there is a holiday called the Bullock's birthday, and it's called Pola. And in the villages in Maharashtra that are still rural, they still carry on and they decorate the bullocks. The bullocks get 1 day off a year from working, and they throw chalk on them. They decorate them, some quite elaborately. Their horns are redecorated, and they put bells on their necks, and then they parade them through Aran gown. So I found out that we could be invited to this special festivity, and our driver who drove me from Bombay to Pune and Nagar invited me and Peter, actually, Peter Iris, let's
Yeah.
see, your nephew, yeah, to come and view this wonderful festivity. So here come the first bullocks, and you can hear Peter's voice. The bullocks sometimes aren't treated beautifully. As you can see, they're being goaded forward. And as they move, let's see, move them a little forward so you can see them coming closer with their bells and their balloons on their horns. Oh my God. There's the next group, and an Indian friend said that says Shri Ram. So they're decorating with blankets and colors, and then they bring them in front of a, let's see if I can show you. They bring them in front of this temple dedicated to Hanuman, and then they actually make the bullocks kind of kneel, which most of the bullocks aren't very happy about, because they sort of push them down and make them kneel in front of Hanuman to sort of, make them pay obeisance to Hanuman. So it's a little bit wonderful, but it's a little bit, I don't know what you would call it. It's an Indian, it's India, let's put it that way. Okay, so lots of that. I went on and on forever with that. This one was the next, they're taking a smaller one to make him bow down, and I'm going to pass by that because that made me sad. But if you look here, they also take they decorate the what do you call these? The tractors, which have replaced a lot of the bullocks, and they decorate the tractors and sort of celebrate that they have helped to plow the fields, and they're now the bullocks are being decorated and on top of these tractors who have, I hear, for the most part, replaced a lot of the bullocks because they do the work much faster, and it's actually cheaper because they don't have to feed the bullocks all year. They just, so many people are selling their bullocks, and they'll rent these tractors to plow the fields now. So there is Peter.
Yeah.
So Ira, are you happy?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
This is Peter and me, and there's Eknath who invited us to that festival. Very sweet. We had a great time.
Yeah.
And now some of you may know the person on the left here is Vinod, who is the father of Preeti, who's works at the center, and Prakash and Peter, who were very wonderful friends there while I was in India. And many of you who have been there in September know that Ganesh is worshipped at a Ganpati festival, and it also happened to be Ganpati time. So here he is there were these roadside huge statuaries and lots of fireworks and, tremendous amount of noise going on during these festivities. Here is Vinod's Ganesh that he bought that is nice and electrified. And he has a small Ganesh to show me if you can have a big electrified one or a little tiny Ganesh. And here is a photo of Vinod with his electrified Ganesh. And Baba said that actually the Ganesh was an avatar. So I haven't figured out all the story behind that, but I've heard that a few times. So if any of you know anything more about that, let me know later. I don't know. There's Peter with his he bought a little Ganesh in a seashell, which he thought was a perfect combination of Myrtle Beach and India. And the woman next to Peter was a Parsi woman from Bombay whom I befriended, and she said something very funny. She said, when I go to the Samadhi, I can't understand all these Indian songs, and they go on and on and on. And I thought that was so funny because many of us at the Samadhi can't understand most of the songs, or many of the songs are in Hindi, but there's so many more people coming from South India and they speak Telugu. So even the Indians, the Parsis and people from North India, they can't understand a lot of the songs either because they don't understand Telugu. So that was an interesting statement. Okay, I'm returning to Meherabad. There are so many people coming to Meherabad that are like busloads of newcomers that they've put a bench in front of Erich's. Many of you remember going into Erich's room with him or visiting him there. But now, because, these busloads of new Indians are coming, they've put a bench in front because they cannot monitor every, 15, 20, 30 people who come through Meherabad all the time on the tour days. But it's very touching to see the simplicity of Erich's room there. In the gardens, which are beautiful, I was fascinated by a little a little butterfly. You see that black and white butterfly in the foreground? And as I was taking a picture of the black and white butterfly, another orange butterfly came floating by in the background. So that was an interesting little moment. And very touching to me in Meherabad, I see this photo to the left of the Mandali Hall doors. And as I looked more closely, those of you who, read Tom's book, you probably saw this photo, but this is from 62, and sitting next to Fred Winterfeld is Tom. And it's
Right.
just, it was very touching to me to see Tom, so close to Mondley Hall in
Mm.
Meherabad. That made me very happy that Tom was near Mondley Hall. uh, I realized at one moment in Meherabad that there were three friends, some new friends, uh, and my old friend Pedro, who was there from Puerto Rico, and Nick lives there now, and he's a adept carpenter and does a lot of work, repair work in Meherabad. Carla is married to Simon, and they're originally from Argentina, like Nick, but they live in Meherabad now and are very helpful. She helps with the tours and I think many, many other things that they do. But that was nice to see a Spanish contingent. Um, those of you who have been to the Upper Meherabad tours remember there's a cage room where Baba did quite a bit of work with musts and he went into seclusion. So there are photos of Baba there. They had redone the the textile that was behind the bamboo uh, cage area there, and they took us in for a tour. What was most interesting to me was that right next to that area was this table and chair and an old typewriter. And when they redid this room, I think during COVID times, they put these back into this room, and it turns out this was where Kitty and Elizabeth Narina would sit to write the articles for the Meher Baba Journal. So it's interesting that under Baba's direction from 38 until 42, that Kitty Elizabeth Narina were asked to work in this little office space, and that Baba also, I don't know if you can read this, but can you see? Yeah. The primary article was always a discourse from Baba. Almost all of his original discourses first appeared in these journals. And it was just interesting to me that whoopsie doodle, that I hadn't realized that that took place in this space right near the cage room. So that was kind of of interest to me. Just, I hadn't realized that before. So there was also a maternity hospital next to the cage room area. And then many of you will remember there was Gulu Jalu's room next to this maternity hospital room. The middle room was not only for a maternity hospital, but Baba did must work in that middle room. And this is what it looked like in Upper Meherabad in the 30s, which was an interesting photo to me. So that, I don't know, it just a long time ago, that's what Upper Meherabad looked like. Then we were allowed to go into the East Room, where Meramani, Khorshid, many of the close women stayed in very strict seclusion. They would create these beautiful artistic photos and put flowers and leaves and decorate them beautifully. And many of you have heard about this, but some of you might not have, that when they renovated the East Room and started washing the wall of one of the walls of the East Room, they came upon some writing and they realized that there was some message, and very, very carefully over weeks, gently took off the top layer and came upon this writing that says this. So it's just very touching that Rao Saheb wrote, "Goodbye, Meher Ashram, holy land of God. You brought all my brothers here, taught us 1,000 lessons in this holy room. You educated and instructed children from every caste and religion, and one by one you drew them close to you. And now, 1 year later, you send us on our way with your blessing."
Beautiful.
Very, very touching. Ted and I, after having enjoyed singing together at the Samadhi, decided let's do a concert. Now they're letting us use the upstairs. It used to be called the administration room above the offices and the downstairs reception area. So we sang. I wanted to start with Danny Boy for Tom. So we that beautiful setting by Francis of using Danny Boy. So that was part of the first concert we gave. Um, that first concert, half of it was the concert by me and Ted, and half I talked about Tom's book. And as I shared Tom's video of talking about the light around Baba in the lagoon cabin in 1958, just in the middle of the height of that video of Tom talking about going into the lagoon cabin and Baba being surrounded by shimmering holy light, all at once the projector totally blew, and then we were in darkness for a moment, and the it was I felt like the projector just couldn't take any more sacred energy, and it just kind of blew out, and it took a few minutes for the projector to kind of cool down before we could finish Tom's video. So that was part of that story, part of that day. Then the next week we had so much fun. We invited these cute girls to sing with us, and two girls from Andhra, from Hyderabad, and Jess and Flint Mednick's daughter Priya sang one of my little songs with me, my kids' song called Lovely Meher Baba. They had learned the song about an hour earlier, so they were very quick studies. Oh, they're so cute. Very cute, very cute. Okay, so I enjoyed that tremendously. Um, okay, then the second concert we gave, Ted and Cindy Lowe and I, this is after we were practicing for our second concert. Um, I think this is where it would be fun. Are you still there, Ruthie?
I'm just waiting for you, darling.
Oh, goody. Okay, so
stop. Mm-hmm.
so what happened? I'm going to stop share and let Ruth show a little video of our concert. What happened during the second concert was that all at once the monsoon began in total earnest, and the rain was so loud that the fellow doing the sound could hardly the keep up with the getting our what do you call it, the microphones to be a little bit louder than the rain without washing anybody out, literally. And during the middle of the concert, we had lights go off and thunder roll at very wonderful moments during the concert. So I'm going to have Ruth show that little section of the concert. So we had sort of light and sound happening in the middle of our concert. So So that was our part of the electric show.
Let's just do the chorus, okay?
Okay.
Oh, which verse should we
Fast
do?
forward to the end of the concert, and Cindy had asked me to sing one of her wonderful songs and see what happens at the very last chord of her song.
A broken heart can beat again in perfect time. Blinded eyes can dream. Even wasted wings can learn to fly again. I really do believe. I do believe. I would dance into the burning flame if I could feel your touch. I would sail into a hurricane if I could feel your love. If I could feel your love. If I could feel your love.
So I don't know if you noticed that at the very, very end of that last chord that Cindy, on that very last chord when she went boom, there's this huge, I mean, it was much louder. It was just, it was fabulous. So we felt Baba there in a most wonderful way with the light and the sound of that concert. So that, thank you, Ruthie, for that help with that. Okay, so who would also come to morning arty? Heather, Nadell, and it just was wonderful. Ted and I roped her in, and for our third concert, she came and joined me and Cindy. So that was just a real thrill to do a third concert with Ted, Cindy, myself, and Heather, and get her to sing. She said she hadn't sung in years, and of course, what a fabulous composer, songwriter, and singer she is. And what she's been through. I don't know if you know that many of you have heard this, but I had forgotten. There was a tree that had fallen across the tracks, and she noticed that the tree had fallen, and she was able to rush to an office to call the Indian government and connect with the railroads and say there is a tree across the tracks, and they were able to stop the train, and I don't know, hundreds of people were saved because of her call and her awareness of something needed to be done. And she received an award from the Indian government for saving lives many years ago. But that's one of the many wonderful things Heather has done besides write beautiful songs and write Mani's biography and been on the trust, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, okay, just after singing at morning arty, 3 happy pilgrims, of course, 2 happy residents and a pilgrim, let's put it that way. Let's see. Some of you may know Karen Bramlett Bryant, who came to India with her friend Paula, so we were happy to be together there in Meherabad. And of course, I wanted to visit Margaret Crask's tomb shrine, having had so much time, lucky time spent with Margaret. Elizabeth next to her, just monumental inner circle disciples who have affected all of us, I know. And those of you who have been to the NPR, this is a mural that's in the hallway on the way to the dining area with Papa Jesawala with the umbrella. I think Young Pendu and I think that's Chanji behind Young Pendu. And so Ira, there's your nephew again.
I-
So just some of the folks at the NPR dining area, a local Aaron Gound fellow. This is Karen Rice's sister who came from Israel and joined. Karen went to Israel and picked up her sister, and then they came. Prakash, who is building a retirement home there, lives in New Jersey most of the time. Wonderful Peter. Johanna Gardner, who's one of the trusts, she's on the board, center board. And Karen and myself and Pedro.
Mhm.
Happy pilgrims. And let's see. I just really had a wonderful time with this couple, Ursula and Dieter Lange, uh, from Germany, and I had met them years before in Austria when, very long story short, my dad, who had to flee Vienna in 1938, and came to America, met my mom, married her, and I grew up here. But my dad's photography, he was able to get his photo collection out of Vienna. The Vienna Museum contacted my sister and myself, and we sold his photo collection to the Vienna Museum. There was a big opening in 2016, and we went to Vienna, and I emailed ahead to a number of people in Europe, and we had Baba meetings in Vienna, and Tom shared his Baba stories in 2016. And Ursula and Dieter came from Germany, so I had, known them since 2016, and it was very meaningful to me that they had spent a lot of time with Tom and me in Vienna. So here we were together, and there's a beautiful afternoon scene on the way to the Samadhi. This is, only 2 days a week now. You can go to Lower Meherabad Wednesdays and Saturdays from 10 to 12 due to the new regulations. This is the Dooney area, and the new road that you see, the 4-lane, there's an underpass there, and then just panning around to what it looks like these days. And many of you remember Glory Shaw's tomb shrine, and you also could, I'm sure, have remembered the Jopti, where Baba spent time in seclusion and went into silence on the 24th. The 9th of July. And Baba's table house, I'm sure many of you have seen. Lower Meherabad, Mondley Hall. This was very touching to me when I was there, because I met Heather Nadell, who was there, and she had spent many years living there with Errico and serving Muhammad. And now the Westerners aren't supposed to be there anymore, and it's such a big shift. They're only allowed to come for 2 hours 2 days a week, and I could see that Heather was really, it's such a big shift to not be able to be there except for 4 hours a week, after years and years of living there. So I was very touched by imagining what she must go through. This is, the Rotary Cabin painting by Rano. Another appearance by, through these murals that you remember that Lynott was asked to do murals that were put inside the PC, the old PC. And those of you who know the story know that the Otts heard about Baba through Tom. So Tom is also represented in these murals, and it was nice to see Tom in Lower Meherabad. I was happy to see him again. This is just since we were allowed to go to the the old PC, and I just wandered through the gardens on the women's side and remembered the years we spent there in happy remembrances of Baba. Now, an Indian fellow is giving a haircut to the palm tree, and then I just pan around to showing the entrance into the old PC, panning toward the men's side. I had forgotten there were these nice drawings, I think by Diana LePage, and the entrance to the old dining room with the beautiful artwork there above the door. So that brought back many happy memories. We visited with, I visited with the one of the sons of Meru Mehta, and he used to come to the Akbar Press house because he's in Eric's family where I used to stay in the earlier years. And Dun Sata, many of you knew her. She had muscular dystrophy. When we knew her, she was confined to a wheelchair. In his family album, which he showed me, there's Dun. I had never seen Dun standing. She's in the middle there. Meru Mehta is on the left. I don't know the woman on the right, but Dun influenced me tremendously because she had tremendous physical suffering, but she never complained. And she was always so focused on Baba and his, saying to the women Mandali who Merit one time said to Baba, Baba, would you take away Dun's suffering? And he told her, I don't know if he told Dun as well, that if she would accept this suffering this lifetime, that everything would be wiped away, that it would be of immense spiritual benefit. And so Dun said, Baba, I accept what you have given me. And, just being around Dun and her tremendous suffering, yet her bearing it with thankfulness, I don't know, was a great influence on my life. This, for those of you who knew Sam and Roshan, this was Roshan's Navjot. And when I showed this photo to Dolly, she was so thrilled because she didn't have a picture of her mother's own Navjot. So this is young Roshan, who, later married Sam. This is the goats going home to, wow, I don't know if it was lunch or dinner, but that's a typical scene in Arrangown that was appreciated by me. And the last shot I'd like to share is when I came back to Pune on my way out, Dolly brought the pet turtle out, gave him a little nose rub, and then carefully brought him over to the sofa so that we could get a little video of Tito the turtle, who is an endangered star tortoise and has lived for 35 years with his mom, who is in the pink. So this is Tito and Zareen, the mom, and this is Zareen and me and Tito and Dolly before I head back to Bombay and homeward bound. So that is my story, and I'm sticking to it. So thank you, everybody, for
Beautiful.
coming with me to London and to India.
Right.
Kathy, did you want to entertain any questions? If anybody has questions?
Yeah, sure.
No,
Love to.
any hand raised. Oh, no. Jim,
Uh, Kathy, I wanted to see that new memorial, that tall structure.
Oh, right. Yeah. It's funny. I didn't take a picture of it, and it's wonderful. It is absolutely gorgeous and monumentally memorializingly wonderful. But sorry, I didn't get a picture of it. Yeah. That, I guess I better go back and get a picture for you.
Yeah, So let's tell us about your trip. Were you there for every morning RT and every evening RT?
No, I went to morning RT every day because I could sing with Ted. I have to honestly say, I love the prayers, but I just love to sing. And don't get to sing with Ted too often. Um, the evening RTs are, for the most part, really, really, totally like inundated by the Easterners, and they're singing these beautiful songs that I can't understand. And I find it's just, I should say, maybe it's a weakness, but frustrating because I'm sitting there listening to these beautiful songs. I can't understand a word. So I tended to go to a few evening RTs, but all the morning RTs. So that's true.
Yeah.
Kathy, do people stay at the old Pilgrim Center now?
No, no, Westerners are not allowed to be there. You knew that, I'm sure.
Yeah, I heard something about that.
Yeah, so the Westerners can no, the Westerners had to leave Lower Meherabad and not stay there anymore. Those people who had houses had 24 hours. You've heard that to
Oh,
get.
wow.
And then so we or the Westerners are allowed there Wednesday from 10 to 12, Saturday from 10 to 12.
To the,
And that's it. And then you're not allowed to be there other times.
wow, that's tough.
Can you
Yeah.
tell us, Kathy, where the line is between Upper and Lower Meherabad?
I think it's golly, is it the I'm not sure if it's the railroad. I think it must I don't know. That's very interesting. I think it is the because you can go to the I'm talking out loud here. I'm just trying to process that. I think you can go to no, that's right. You can't go to the memorial you just mentioned, Ira, unless yeah. I think it's the railroad tracks actually. I'm not sure if it's the railroad tracks or the 4-lane road. I'm not completely sure. But there's that military base behind Lower Meherabad and top secret activities, and the Indian government does not want anybody anywhere near. So the Westerners are, yeah, okay, yep, are not allowed except for 4 hours a week.
Well,
So
that's
do
that's
people
the first
stay
time
in the new Pilgrim Center?
Yeah, so everybody stays at the NPR. Yes, at the new
Where
Pilgrim
is that?
Center, which I was showing you, the pictures of with the arches and the beautiful
Uh-huh.
wrought iron work.
So
But
that's
they
the
can
new
only
one.
go to the tomb 2 days a week.
No,
I mean,
that's
the
an
tomb,
Upper.
yeah, the tomb is in Upper Meherabad, so we have unlimited access to the tomb, to Meherabad's tomb, because it's up on the hill. It's Lower Meherabad, the Jopti and the Mondley Hall and the PC, the
Mhm.
Pilgrim Center, the original one. You're not allowed there. Does that
Kathy,
make sense?
where's the new one built? I haven't been there since '85. So where did the new one go? Is it Upper Meherabad?
It's Upper Meherabad, and it's really quite a ways away from I mean, it takes about 20 minutes to walk from, that I took you on that walk to the tomb. It takes about 20 minutes to walk from the tomb to the pilgrim retreat. It's
Wow.
it's a bit of a schlep, as they say in New York. I like that word schlep. It's got a
Thank
feeling to
you.
it, a schleppy feeling. Ah ha ha. Yeah,
Kathy,
so
short of being there ourselves, this is just so great. I love that we can see it's so much new building and everything.
yes, it's really beautiful. I wish India were closer. Wouldn't it be nice if Baba just took the world and kind of did a big fold up and then we
Uh,
could just get on a plane and be there in like 3 hours or something? Ah, it is it I don't know. I'm sure he knew what he was doing since he's the avatar, but I found this time I have to say it did take more out of me being 75 and, not being whatever 16 years ago was. It's a long trip and it's hard to. So, how many of you have been, let's see, like, when was everybody back? When has everybody been back there?
I think 95, I think, was my last year.
Oh, 05?
Yeah, 95.
Oh, 95. Yeah, yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I'm 85.
85. Yeah, how long?
2012, 2012 for me.
2012. Yeah,
2008.
2000.
Can you walk? I mean, can you go inside the tomb?
You can go inside. You clean the tomb. If you get there like around 5:45. So there's actually a bell rings for chai if you want, and at 5:45 you can rush out for a quick cup of chai and then rush down and clean the tomb
Mhm.
between like 6 and 6:30, and so that's the time you have the most time in the tomb, really, because you're in there laying down like, beautiful. Different people will give the people who help with the organizing the tomb cleaning, like, beautiful cloths that they want to take home to put on their shrine at home. So there's like 4 or 5 or 6 of these cloths that are laid down, and flowers, and you're called in, and 4 or 5 or 6 people have a chance to put this cloth down, and then 6 more people put the next cloth down. So you get to be in the tomb for a few minutes. Then after that, you get back on the line, which may take 10 or 15 minutes, and you get to come in and bow. And you don't really get to stay very long, because there's like 20 or 30 people in back of you and there's 20 people in front of you. It's a very different time now. Yeah.
You said
And
people who had houses there got 24 hours to leave?
in Lower Meherabad, yes.
Oh,
Yeah, so I think about 12 people had to relocate to Upper Meherabad within 24 hours. And then I think they have been going back to gather belongings during those 4 hours a week that they're allowed time.
why Lower Meherabad?
Say that again?
Why did they pick Lower Meherabad?
What do you mean to close it down?
Yeah.
Because there's this an army base that turns out to be top secret. I don't know what's going on there, but it's a security risk to the Indian government, they say.
Oh,
So they have shut down to Indians can go there, but not Westerners.
hmm. That's tough.
So yeah, it's hard. It's very difficult.
Kathy, is the tomb open during the day between artis? Can you go in and sit in the tomb like you used
Yeah,
to?
you
Can?
know,
Oh,
I think you can, yes. So that would be a time you could, yes, you could be more, what's the word? Be more free to be there quietly on your own. Although it's funny, I didn't go down that many times during the day. It turns out it was quite hot and I was tired. But yes, you can. Oh, good. So maybe there's another trip in there for you. Woohoo!
I think we need to go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kathy, I have a question.
Yes. Hi, Wayne. Good to see
Hi,
you.
Kath. Good to see you. So good. This was so enjoyable.
I have to say thank you, Wayne. He helped
No advertising.
all my tickets to him. Thank you, Wayne.
I gave her as an ex-travel agent. I did some consulting with her to help her get to India. That's true. Okay.
Yeah.
And this is being recorded. No one heard that. Okay. Thank you, Baba. The question I had was following up on on Betty. During the day at Upper Meherabad, are the places like Mansari's kitchen and where the cage room is and where the journals are written and the dormitory upstairs in the museums, are those open during the day where you can just go in there and sit and?
I think, it's interesting because I didn't go there except they have tours. So they have these tours, like for instance, the East Room. And
Mhm,
I think the rooms where the cage room, those are locked.
right,
And I sort of think that probably Monsari's kitchen, they're all locked, I think, because, people could just wander in there and
that's true.
if it's
Mhm.
not attended. So I think everything is locked up. The museum, for instance, of course, there's a tour of the museum room, but that certainly is locked up. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's somehow, I think all of us have this as we get older, these like the museum room, these treasures in there, they have more meaning, just the history of Baba's life, everything we learn about him and we know, but it, it goes deeper. And just seeing like the Kamali coat, Baba's sandals, uh, suits that he wore in the West. I mean, it's just the museum is just filled with the most incredible treasures that you just it's almost more than you can take in. But thank God, the Tonga you see that the Prem Ashram boys would ride Baba around in his alphabet boards. It just overwhelmingly fabulous. Yeah.
Thursday put saying that you cannot go inside the tomb uh, to sit. I guess that means during the day. Only
Oh,
outside.
okay.
Only outside. Oh,
Okay, so I
oh.
didn't, yeah. Okay, good. Thank you, Farish Day. Yeah, she was there after yeah, she was there. So that's good to know. I didn't, yeah, that's sad. I didn't really go in that much during the day, but so you can sit outside, but you can't sit inside the tomb. But please go anyway. Ah,
So
uh,
good of you to bring all this back to us, Kathy. I'm so grateful that you took so many pictures. Oh, it's so
uh,
special. Thank
don't you like those buffaloes?
you.
Yeah. Um, anyway, I guess I just
Oh,
hope that some of you do get a chance to go there. But one thing I'm remembering is that one time when I went back to India, I hadn't been back in years, and I complained to Erich and I said, Erich, I haven't been back. I haven't been able to come, and I've been longing to be at Baba's Samadhi and to be with you. And he looked at me very lovingly and he said, your longing has brought you here.
Oh,
So I think that's a good way to end. We all long to be there, to be at Baba's Samadhi, to be in Meherabad, and our longing brings us there.
one little note, Kathy, before, can you tell us about your beautiful earrings and necklace?
Oh, yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, so after Kitty passed, I was given these, I think they're Venetian glass, I don't know, or Italian glass, necklace and earrings, and I had put them on Kitty many times. So I was handed a little box by Jane Haynes, and she said, "This is your bequest from Kitty." So Kitty gave these to me
Beautiful.
Wow.
before she passed. She had knew that I had put them on her quite a number of times and said how beautiful they were. So I wear them at special occasions.
Yes, this is special. Oh, it's such a great time. Thank you so much,
Thank
Kathy.
you, Baba. Thank you.
and thank you, Kathy. That was fabulous.
Oh, good. Thank you. And thank you. Let's see, everybody here. Thank you for coming. And thank you, Ruthie, for techno. And thank you, Wayne, for
Please.
getting me to India and back in one piece.
So we
And,
say
and
Avatar,
Avatar.
Meherabad-Meherazad.
Woo! Jai
Avatar, Meherabad-Meherazad.
Key J.
Avatar, Meherabad,
TJ.
What fun, what fun. Thank you, Kathy.